Hello and welcome to the agenda. I am Ajay Kaul. In this program today, we will discuss the impact of corona pandemic on the education system. Coronavirus has caused impact on all aspects of our lives. One of the major aspects affected by pandemic is education. Schools and colleges are closed since March and studies are being pursued through online classes. Many feel that the online classes do not suffice, particularly in higher classes where practicals etc. are to be conducted. However, the corona situation is only worsening rather than improving. This has put the government in a fix on the timing of reopening of schools and colleges. At the same time, there is confusion over the issue of conducting exams to higher education also. In the agenda today, we will discuss these elements with our guests from the academic field. We have with us Mr. Harish Sanduja, Director at Jaipuria School and Council Member of Samarthi Teachers Training Academy of Research, and Mr. Saurabh Kumar, Dean at Vidya Mandir Classes. But before we start the discussion, let us have a look at this small report.
Educational institutes are shut since March in view of coronavirus, and studies are being pursued through online classes. There is a view that online classes do not suffice as far as overall curriculum is considered, particularly in higher education. It is not only the theoretical studies and students need to pursue. There are other activities like practicals which need to be carried out. Besides, school curriculum also involves physical activity by the student, which is a must for overall personality building of a student. However, the government is in a fix and indecisive on allowing reopening of schools and colleges since coronavirus cases continue to increase. There is a big risk of students getting infected if educational institutes are reopened. That risk is not worth taking. There was a media report some weeks back which claimed that government was considering reopening educational institutes in a phased manner from September 1. But the government denied it, saying no such decision had been taken. Earlier, Union Education Minister had asked states and union territories to seek feedbacks from parents on the issue. He wanted parents to specify the likely period when they will be comfortable in reopening of schools. A circular sent by the Department of School Education and Literacy Ministry of Human Resource Development had also asked for parents' expectations from schools and when they reopened. At the same time, parents have raised concern over the increased screen time for children due to the online classes. Taking note of that, the Education Ministry had released guidelines for online classes by schools and recommended a cap on durations and the number of sessions in a day for students. The government in the first week of July also decided to slash the school syllabus up to 30% for students of class 9 to 12. The courses will be rationalized to reduce the lot while retaining the core concepts, the HRD Ministry had said. So the jury is open on the questions of reopening of schools, and it is anyway not going to be an easy decision for the government to take. Bureau Report.
Now let's welcome our guests, Mr. Sanduja and Mr. Saurabh Kumar. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you.
So let me begin by asking Mr. Sanduja, how has COVID impacted the education?
So I would say that COVID has impacted education in both ways. One, it has impacted a lot of children and schools, and the schools have, as we all know, not been able to run face to face. But at the same time, it has been a kind of blessing in disguise where the technology push, which was not happening over the last 10 years in many schools, so that push has automatically come in. And because of that, almost every school has launched itself to the next level of using technology platforms. Various platforms are available on Google, on Microsoft, on Zoom, on Skype, and these things are now becoming more part of day-to-day schooling, where technology is coming into play. And with this, of course, face-to-face teaching has taken a backseat. But the other two kinds of teaching, that is the synchronous teaching with the help of any technological platform, and the non-synchronous teaching also, by where people can make in videos and send it through WhatsApp, or making a PPT and sending it through WhatsApp, all that has increased manyfold. Assessment, and especially the subjective assessment, is still something, a concern area for many schools. Those who don't have a very good technology platform, people are finding it still difficult to assess children. But otherwise, teaching learning to an extent is happening. And I strongly believe that almost 60-70% of the children were kind of able to reach out, and for them the learning has continued. But of course, those children who do not have an access to internet or any kind of technology, for them it becomes a bit difficult. They're not able to get it anything. So of course, for them there is a separate thing that the government or the society has to think about, to reach out to such children so that their learning does not stop.
So before I come with supplementaries to you, I'll turn to Mr. Saurabh Kumar. I will ask the same question. How has COVID impacted education?
See, in this COVID, obviously, the other way of teaching is going around. That, the online classes or the recorded videos or through WhatsApp or any other thing, the classes are going on. But still, I personally feel as a teacher also that the interaction which was there between a teacher and a student, that has gone up, that has gone down to a certain extent. And the motivation which a teacher which is physically present in front of a student, that is completely missing. And especially if we say about, you can say, motivation in the last lap of the examinations, so that has completely lost, obviously. But of course, the system is a bit running because of this internet thing.
So
But still, if you see the villages, of course, the students are not able to access to their classes.
In fact, that is what I wanted to ask Mr. Sanduja also. Since you talked about technology, use of technology, online classes and all, but there is a huge chunk of population or student population, I'll say, who are poor, who don't have access to such technology,
Exactly.
particularly students who study in government schools and colleges. So what about them? I mean, they must be losing out, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. So I think it's a moral responsibility of the society at large to make sure that education is reaching out to these children also, because somewhere I was reading around 27% of the children still do not have an access to any of the technology framework, and hence they are kind of not able to reach out, and for them the education seems to have so completely stopped. So we need to look at how we are going to kind of push those educational platforms or reach out to these children. It can be either through a physical teacher trying to have classes somewhere, or trying to deliver notes somewhere, or trying to deliver some books somewhere. All those things can be done, because I have been hearing a lot of innovative methods that have been put up, where people have been asking the parents to come to the school and take the notes and get it done with their children. People have been asking through loudspeakers, where the children can be taught in a group, maintaining social distances and all those things. So all those things, I think that the government as well as the society as large, because I strongly believe that the government cannot do it all alone. There have to be people, or the edupreneurs, or the people who can kind of see the importance of education in our lives, come forward and help out these children.
Exactly. Government alone cannot do it. Maybe Mr. Saurabh Kumar, you are running Vidya Mandir classes, coaching classes. So isn't it the responsibility of, institutions like you or institutes like you to reach out in such situation to the people who don't have access, who are maybe neglected in this whole process?
Yeah, you are correct that we have done a lot of things. We have made the entire you can say crash course of both engineering and medical free on YouTube for all the students who are aspiring for this particular year, and we have also scheduled multiple free lectures on YouTube, which is running every day for to teaching the topics. So we at what we can do, we have done. But still, you can think of places. I can say, take example, interiors of Bihar or UP or some other states where still 2G internet is not properly available. So, and nobody can do it overnight because it was overnight on 22nd of March when everything went for a lockdown. So, for the private entrepreneurs or the edupreneurs or the people who are trying to do this, they are also helpless at places where there is no internet, right? So at Vidyamandir, obviously we are delivering a lot of free content.
If I may interrupt you, it is not only access to internet. I'm talking about access to technology also. There is a huge chunk of people who are poor or illiterate who don't know how to use YouTube or how to access education online. I'm not talking about Bihar or backward areas of Bihar or UP or I'm talking about Delhi. You talk about Delhi, you talk about Mumbai or even metropolitan cities. There are huge chunk of people, students who study in government schools, who parents are poor, they don't have wherewithal to access online classes. I'm talking about those that section.
Yeah, we have approached in the first week of March to multiple schools, and we have offered them the platform completely free so that their students can learn, and couple of schools are there on our board which are using our free services, and we have trained the principals and the teachers and the students to access that content either on mobile or either if they don't have a live connection, then they have the recorded videos also. So obviously we have done whatever we could do in our capacity, but still I think a large chunk is there which needs to be catered, which is rightly said by Mr. Sanduja that everybody has to come forward and not only the government can take care of that.
Okay, I will turn to Mr. Sanduja. Mr. Sanduja, in this whole actually nowadays, is there over dependence on coaching classes and has it changed during this COVID period?
Oh yes, there has been one very good outcome of the COVID is that the dependency of the children on the coaching classes has reduced. I am looking forward to some kind of a survey where I would like to actually see, because as far as I am concerned, we have been talking to children and parents, and we realize that many of the children have now become independent in terms of trying to learn what they do not know. So what generally used to happen in physical classes was there were children who were very good, who knew कि उनको क्या चीज नहीं आती, whatever they don't know and what they need to push for. But then there were some children who were average children. Those average children are those happy-go-lucky children who would not know what is being taught in the class, would not sometimes pay attention, and then just go into the examination thinking, okay, I need to study this and that. So those kind of children have started looking at a help in terms of getting something from internet, getting something from apps which are nowadays available on their phones or their parents' phones. So those children have also started pushing and started knowing what and where they lack. So that student community has jumped to the next level by being aware of what they do not know and where can they find. This is a very big learning for life, because many children do not know what they do not know. Now this is something which has started happening after COVID, that children have started being aware of their lacunae and then looking at where they can be kind of bridged.
Okay, Mr. Saurabh Kumar, the government, while being in the fix on reopening of schools and all, have now slashed syllabus, particularly up to 12th class. How do you see that approach?
See, opening of schools obviously comes with a risk, because there are small children whom you cannot control for the social distancing or washing of hands or being away from each other, because But I don't know how the senior classes will respond to this, because the class 10th and 12th will have their board examinations. The students have never been gone to any lab. So how the practicals will take up, and how those assignments and projects which are there, which are an integral part of the board examination. So obviously, this is a very big question which all of us has to answer. And obviously, till the time the things are not very good, or they should come with a very strong SOP of opening up of schools for senior classes only. I personally don't believe that opening of junior classes should take place until the pandemic comes down, or a successful vaccine comes into the play, because the smaller children cannot be controlled when you leave them to a space where there are no restrictions on them. So obviously this is what I feel to reopening of schools.
Okay, Mr. Sanduja, as Mr. Kumar also mentioned about practicals and all, online classes don't suffice that. I mean, they cannot address. So what is to be done? Now exams will be held in some time, maybe half-yearly exams. And what is to be done? What should be, I mean, that gap be filled?
See, there are two things. One is that there are solutions available, but then those solutions are a bit costly sometimes, and they're not available for the masses right now. So for two areas of concern, one is when you're saying about the half-yearly examinations. Now, half-yearly examinations require a paper and pen kind of examination. So for that, there are various types of apps available which can actually get the child to do a pen and paper test at home and then upload it on the app which reaches the teacher.
That is the theoretical part. I'm talking about practical part.
Yeah, that is one which can cater to the examination. But then the second thing is, when there is a practical thing, then there are in certain softwares, this is an ability that is available, that certain softwares are actually giving you a virtual lab available for a school teacher for the children to see. So it's more like a lab which opens in front of in your laptop, and that lab gives you the facility that now you can take a test tube, and in that test tube you can put up HCl or HNO3 and then mix it with another, and whatever quantity you want to do it. This is a kind of virtual lab which is available on various platforms nowadays.
But these will be simulated practicals, like.
Yeah. So, but then the physical practicals are still not happening till the schools don't open. So for that, I think the boards will have to come with a policy of what they are going to do, because everyone was hopeful that by October or November also schools will definitely open, and after that those labs which were there, the minimum would be done so that the minimum level of learnings are achieved. That is what was the hope, and I hope that pandemic is likely to be coming down by then.
So, Mr. Kumar, as Mr. Sanduja was saying about simulated labs, so I have my own apprehensions how far, I mean, how many students can have access to it, and how, I mean, practical those practicals will be. So, maybe you can answer that.
So I think he has also already answered in his statement that the solutions which are available are a bit expensive. So one is that these type of softwares are available at a cost. And only I think a very small percentage of the students, even in metros or in very good capitals, can access to that. But still the question remains the same, that 90% of the students would not be able to access to such things which are purchasable, or which comes with a huge cost, because these simulated practicals are not very common. If you look at the edtech figures, the edtech companies which are running, which has shown more than 300% rise in the number of students downloading the app and going online teachings and all those stuff. So all these players also doesn't have a virtual lab. So virtual labs are very different concept. Obviously it is present, but it is at a cost.
So as you yourself mentioned that 90% of students won't be able to access it. So they will be missing out, no?
Obviously, that is what I said, that not opening of the school is certainly coming up with some problems, and the board or the MHRD has to do something, or has to put up a different alternate to those marks of practical, and if you give those marks also, then the lack of exposure to the lab will always remain in
It will
the
be
personality
missing
of
in the
that student.
education.
Yeah,
So,
because
Mr.
once you
Sanduja,
reach
I
to the
want to ask you the
college,
same question. So, if 90% students are not able to access that, so how to address that situation? Otherwise, this will be missing in their education.
Yeah, see, I think the best solution that we should be having right now is that, like the syllabus has been reduced by 30%, the practical labs also should be relooked into. That which are the most crucial practical labs, where at class 11 and 12 level, the labs are with an idea that they teach a child the ability of scientific temperament, how to decide a question and then probe that question using various equipments. So there are various methodologies, but of course those methodologies, it is very difficult to kind of train the teachers also into that. There is a methodology which I had seen in international baccalaureate, where the thought type experiments were done by children, where the children were asked to think of new experiments and then plan a process of how they would research on that experiment. In due course, the child develops the scientific temperament, because the idea of having labs is to develop the scientific temperament. So it is possible, but right now we have very less time and we had not thought of how it would be done. So the best solution that looks like to me is that we can reduce the content of the labs also and keep only few labs which are critical to develop the scientific temperament, and hopefully that the schools would open and the children would be able to do maybe 50 or 60% of the labs which are they supposed to be stipulated to be doing.
Okay, if I may ask you, Mr. Sanduja, one more question about UGC. There are question marks about whether UGC test exam should be held or not. What is your view on that?
See, examination basically is an assessment. Now, internationally, it is understood that assessment is of three types: assessment as learning, assessment of learning, and assessment for learning. So in India, what generally has happened over the years is that we have always thought assessment of learning. That is, whenever there is an assessment, this is only done to understand whether this person has studied or not studied, or knows or does not know. Whereas assessment can also be looked upon as a great a tool, which itself is a learning. So what is happening right now is, in this particular mode, where it is difficult to assess large number of people, I think we should not say that it is not possible to assess. We should only say that we are not able to assess large number of people in subjective formats. We still have the ability to do objective assessments. Because let us not forget that even for JEE or NEET, we do an online examination at times, and there a large scale assessment is still possible, and it is all based on objective. So I strongly believe that the UGC can come up with a plan of at least testing objectively with the help of objective questions for any of the children that they have, so that they can come up with certain plan. Because without assessment, it becomes very difficult to come to terms, and because it becomes a cheating for that child who is extremely good and the child who may be an average or who may not be performing well. So it is relevant to do testing. We should do it, and I think to a certain level, it is possible also.
Okay, we are running out of time. One last question to Mr. Kumar. How should students approach JEE, NET, amidst all this crisis?
They should keep studying at home, and obviously they have to take the help from the online classes. But I have 2-3 points which I wanted to add, which I came to my mind in this discussion. One is that when you go to internet, there is a lot of information which is available, right? And every information is right. That there is no criteria that every information which you are seeing from internet is right? There are hundreds of teachers teaching anything on the internet, and some are teaching right, some are teaching wrong, some are teaching
and some are misleading also.
Something. Some are misleading also, right? Because right now you can earn money from YouTube and all those stuff. So there are I see a lot of people doing anything on YouTube. So when a child goes to internet, it is very, very important that he goes to the right platform, he chooses the right lecture, and then he learns from it, right? If he learns something wrong, that is not only wasting his current time, but he is also wasting his future, because he will never be able to correlate
Correct.
to that particular concept in the future, right? So we have to be very cautious when we are saying that a lot of internet resources available. Obviously they are available, but we have to check that which resources we have to do. Secondly, that you can take help of online tests. NTA has itself given a broad range of online tests. Every day a test is live. I think every student should take the help of this free online facility given by the government, that they should go on the NTA app and give the test. And finally, the day when you go for the examination, obviously the SOPs has been released, the safety precautions that has to be taken care. As far as the examinations which you were discussing a few moments back, I want to add 2-3 points to that. That if we say that we can do examination objective, so if you have to go to the center, then it is equal that you do examination which is objective or subjective, it doesn't matter, right? But if you do give any examination at home, I will let you know that there are hundreds of apps which are available which will help you in cheating. You can just scan it and you will get the answer, right? So there are AI enabled apps which are available across the country, across the globe, which will give you instant answers. So test has to be at a computer based center only. We cannot do any examination which is home based. So it is completely injustice to those students who are working very hard for that particular assessment.
So we can conclude that education is at the crossroads and internet is a boon as well as very risky affair. And thank you both of you for participating in this debate.
Thank you.
This is all in the agenda today. Thanks for watching. I will be back with another important topic tomorrow. Till then, goodbye.